Go.
Hi, Pat. Thank you for giving us the presentation just now. Please, could you just tell us your name and what you do in comScore?
Sure. I'm Pat Pellegrini, Vice President of International Methodology, International Research at comScore. And basically, I'm in charge of methodological enhancements for 42 markets outside of the United States.
Okay, great. And in the presentation, you gave us a kind of summary of the comScore methodology with each of the circles. Can you just talk us through that?
Sure. That's sort of what I call a DNA diagram. What I find very tricky to convey is the full, complete picture of our methodology. I think some people would get, right, they get caught up on different areas. So we tried to have one common thread, and I wanted to tell the story so that it came back to why you need to have a strong enumeration survey, for example, why that's linked to the last step, which is unification. So it all had to come together as a very tight thread. Now, it's since gotten even more complicated in the last year, as you saw there. There's more enhancements, there's more validation. And so I think that diagram will have to probably be re-engineered. It might be a bigger circle. Yeah, but I think it does tell the complete picture, and it's been very effective in getting a lot of transparency about what comScore does. We want to demystify some of the questions that people have. We want to demystify the beliefs that they have that how we get our numbers, how we get our panelists. I think transparency is very important, and we really, with this presentation and with our validation approaches, we're really trying to draw a line in the sand and saying, this is going to be the threshold for world-class measurement, for massive scale measurement, digital measurement in the future.
Okay, and you mentioned unified digital measurement, UDM, which is something unique to comScore, right?
Yes. So there are other hybrid methodologies, so methodologies that use multi-source, and typically for hybrid we're talking about using some site-centric information, using some panel information. We called ours unified because the integration between those two components was so tight that we wanted to differentiate it. So it's not just a marketing term, it really is a methodological term, because we use the panel to really get the site information that we want. The cookies per person numbers, the multiple browsers adjustments, all of those key adjustments really rely on the panel. So it's the absolute best of what we can get from a panel and the best of what a site-centric information can give us. And that's why we called it unified digital measurement. And we realized that in 2 years that we already have to add a lot more to unified measurement beyond home and work environments.
So what are the real benefits of unified digital measurement versus other digital measurements?
Sure. Well, accuracy and complete coverage. So it's very difficult to get a strong work panel, for example. There are IT restrictions. A lot of the bigger companies just won't let you put a software meter on a machine. So that's always going to be very tricky. It's tricky for any measurement company, and we've tried multiple approaches. So niche targets, niche types of sites are also very tricky no matter how large your panel is. So getting complete coverage, getting more accuracy in terms of page views and unique visitors, there's really nothing that can beat a strong, unified approach. Done correctly, multi-source measurement really is the best approach for digital measurement.
Okay, and you mentioned in the presentation that there's no incentives for the comScore panel. Can you tell us about that? Because that helps you give a better picture.
Sure. Typically, panelists in media measurement are they're doing something active. So whether they're filling out a diary or they're pushing buttons for television, and I've worked in television and print before and in radio, so I understand how these things work. But they're active panelists. Our panelists are really just, they download the software and we want them to just go about their business. We want them to forget that they're being measured. And so in that sense, if we were actively incentivizing them and managing them, that would go away. That passive capability would really not be being used. And I think any time that you are actively managing a panelist and actively incentivizing them, you're also having an influence on their behavior.
Yeah, because they're very much aware of what they do.
That's right.
They might behave differently from what they might do naturally.
That's right. I firmly believe that that's always going to be a source of bias in your measurement. So the more natural they can be, the less incentivized they are to provide you information because they know there's a monetary reward, there are classic examples and I won't name the companies, but where the task, the burden, if you will, of measurement was very high. So that someone had to carry something around or they had to fill something out. And because of that, you had to incentivize them more and more. And when you incentivize them so highly, you're not getting natural behavior anymore. People are literally doing it for income. We don't recruit anybody who wants to make some cash. We don't want take a survey type partners who go after those types of people, because we know from looking at our own panels that those people actually do have different behaviors. So I don't think it's a good natural way to measure this.
So you have a more representative sample?
I believe we see more natural internet behavior from our panelists.
Okay. And just a quick last question about, in Mexico we have the challenge with a lot of people who access the internet through internet cafes, or perhaps they don't have a computer of their own home.
That's right.
And in your presentation you mentioned total population measurement, because that's
Right.
something we'd be really interested to hear about.
Yeah, it's called Total Universe. A Total Universe report will be rolling out here, I guess in 2 months. That'll be followed down the road by something that we call connected media. And really, the Total Universe is the first step to getting total unique visitors across all of the different locations. So homework, shared use, as you said, and mobile. It is a much more important location measurement in Mexico, as it is in Brazil, as it is in India, less so in countries like Canada, the United States, the UK. We're going to use some specialized methodologies that we're going to be presenting to the market shortly that give us a view of that and give us a view of duplication. So we reached out to companies that run internet cafes and shared use computers. There's a way to get some measurement from them. There's ways to use static IP and operating system information and cookie information that will give us a very good measurement of that. The first report, Total Universe report, will give you total numbers, but no demographics. So it's not planning level, media planning threshold yet, but it will evolve into that as we introduce demos with what we call connected media. So connected devices, anything that is connected to the web, in a household, will have demographics and we'll be able to deduplicate across those locations. So it is a first step towards eventually giving the market planning level quality across all the entire universe, so all locations, not just home and work. And in some cases, like as you said, that could be 30, 40% of the entire online universe. So it's a significant change in the unique visitor numbers.
Okay, and just to finish up, quick question about what do you see the future of digital measurement? How do you think it's going? It's getting more and more fragmented, more challenging.
Yeah.
What do you think obviously you can't read the future, but like your feeling.
Yeah, well, it's been a wild west so far. There are still many players, many different approaches. It is starting to coalesce around a few things. You're seeing the major players go towards hybrid methodologies. You're seeing statistical fusion. You're seeing things like empirical methodologies, or what we call, like jackknife replication. You're seeing some extra validation that's being done. So I think those things will continue. But one of our call to arms, if you will, in this presentation was to have some industry guidelines, to have some industry oversight. We really need someone outside of the measurement companies to bring the parties together to a table and say, this is how we're going to measure for this particular type of problem. IAB would be perfect. I know, for example, I chair the Canadian Research Advisory Council in Toronto, and we have an IAB member at the table. He's their research director. Having those types of research committees has been extremely valuable for comScore. We have more than one around the world. And having everybody around the table to tell us about what they're looking for next, how we should do it. They're basically a great beta platform for us. We developed unified measurement with the Canadian Research Council, and that's how we rolled it out. So it was a perfect environment for getting feedback. I think that's really the future. That's how you have to, that's exactly it. Otherwise, you'll end up with fragmented measurement again. We already have fragmented usage and fragmented everything. So if you want to have continued sort of Wild West measurement, then we just have to let it be. If we want to rein it in and I think really move advertising dollars to digital, where I think a lot of them should be, we have to agree on some measurement principles and some measurement guidelines, agree to be audited, for example, agree to have similar metrics, similar methodologies for measuring different things. I think that's the way forward. Otherwise, you know, and that's what happens now with print, that's what happens with television, that's what happens with radio. It's not going to happen with digital unless we get to that point, and we have to make an effort to do that. And I think some of the things that we've tried to do today in this presentation were to show where we think that's going to go.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And it'll be good if we can have a copy of that.
Sure.
Thank
Sure.
you.
You're welcome.
Great.
Thank you.